So this video, I'm going to show you how I tie a soft spinner. There's lots of ways to do this, and there's lots of guys that are really good at tying soft spinners. They have different hook configurations, from double trebles to a single, double singles to a treble single. I prefer the treble single. So what I like to start with is I like to start with a 2/0 trailer hook. I'm going to tie this on first. I just simply use a simple egg loop. So I push the line through backwards. I pinch it in my hand. I'll wrap it about 6 times, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Then I'll bring my other tag end, I'll bring it through the hook again, okay, about an inch or so. I like it about 1 inch because you have to wrap it again. And I poke this with a bend right between my fingers and I hold it. See that? And the end I was wrapping with, I continue to wrap about 5 more times. 3, 4, 5. I pull it tight behind it so I have this big loop. Use my teeth to get it started. And I like to pull it through my fingers like this because it keeps your line from getting tangled. So at that point, I've tied my treble hook. Now what I like to do after, or my trailer hook, what I like to do after I've tied my trailer hook is I like to trim the tag end off, okay? And now I'm gonna tie my treble. I use the exact same knot when I'm tying my treble. So I'm gonna take the end of my line, again, I'm gonna run it through my treble eye, and I'm gonna slide it down towards my trailer hook. Now, when I get down to my trailer hook, there's a certain distance I prefer, right? I prefer it about 1 inch behind, about right there, right? So I'm gonna stop it right there. I'm gonna grab it like my trailer hook doesn't exist. I'm gonna wrap about 6 times. And it's very important that you have continuous wraps. They don't overlap each other, going down the shank of the hook so it's nice and clean. You see how clean that is? Okay, then again, I'll take my finger, I hold it against here so my line stays tight. I grab my tag end, I poke it back through again, just about an inch or so, okay, and I'm gonna hold this again in place. Then I continue my wraps with my finger, the line that was holding by my finger, and I continue them down again below the other wraps in line. Okay, I do about 5 wraps straight down. Okay, then I take the line and I fold it back over itself, I straighten it all out, and I like to pull it again through my fingers so I don't get my line tangled. Okay, and when you pull this line, you can see there's a little gap right there, and you like to pull that until that gap about goes away. Okay, see the gap went away? Right there. Now I know that's tight. So now I've got my treble and my stinger hook tied, right? So what next? Well, what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna put a piece of tubing on there. Now, as you can see here, I've got all different color tubings for different situations, right? I'm gonna use this blade right here, which happens to be a Mulkey 3.5, right? You can see it's got red and chartreuse. So I would either use the red or chartreuse just to kind of match the hatch. On this one, I'm gonna use the red tubing, right? So you take your red tubing, you simply just slide it down the same line, okay? All the way down until you get to your treble hook. So I'm gonna slide this right up like this. See how I bring the treble hook right into frame. Okay, and then you just simply poke this straight over your treble, okay? This takes a little bit of work sometimes. It's always good to wet it actually, and if you can. Okay, so you can see I've slid my tubing down, right? So my next step is gonna be beads. So I try to choose bead colors that generally match up to my blade and my tubing, right? And so here I've got 2 chartreuse beads and a reddish color beads, just like chartreuse and red, and I've got a red piece of tubing. So I'm going to put the chartreuse beads on top of the red tubing to kind of add a little contrast. 3 or 4 beads, right? So I put these 2 beads on there. I'm going to put my other bead on here. It takes a second sometimes. Okay. And then the next step is, I like these clevises. There's lots of different types of clevises out there. I prefer a plastic ball bearing clevis. I don't like a metal clevis rotating around my monofilament line for fear it would fray it. So how I'm going to do this is I take this clevis, I poke it through my blade. Oops, poked it all the way through my blade. I'm gonna poke it through my blade again. Poke it through my blade, and you want to make sure that the blade is facing downward as you slide it down, so that way it slides in right. I thread it through the bottom hole and the top hole on my clevis, just like so, and then I drop it down the blade. And right there is your finished soft spinner. The only thing left to do behind this now is to pick your desired leader length. I generally will cut a piece of monofilament about 4 feet and tie it, and then I leave them long like this and I put them on like a fishing leader board or a leader roller, so that way if I want to fish a longer leader that day, I've already got it that way. I don't have to retie a spinner. But if I'm fishing shorter leaders, I can always cut it down. So there's a great tip on for you how to tie a soft spinner.